All right, you guys. Michael Jackson's History album. It came out 30 years ago this month. This is Black Music Month, and what better way to start out than talking about one of Michael Jackson's most autobiographical works, the History album. Now, you would think that the estate would be doing something to celebrate it. Come on, I don't know what they're going to be doing, but we're doing something here on MJ Fangirl. I could not do it today without talking to one of our favorite guests here, hip hop choreographer, dancer, Michael Jackson fan extraordinaire, journalist, Chris Lacy. Welcome.
Hey, hey, happy to be back. How's everybody doing?
It's great to have you back, Chris. How you been?
I'm doing well, doing well. I'm happy, healthy, and employed, so I can't complain on my end.
I love that.
Yeah,
Now, I'm really excited because you're coming to us today with something special that you've been working on and that we're going to be talking a lot about today. It's a celebration of the History album. Um,
that's right.
can you
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for years I've wanted to write about the history album, but I wanted to make sure that my approach was something that um it wasn't just a rehash of what most people know. Like, I want to make sure I'm bringing in a fresh perspective. So part of what inspired it was, I'm sure you've seen this too, like most mainstream publications tend to focus more on the allegations and the controversial public persona, but then on the other side of it you have fans that idolize Michael to the point as if he never made a mistake. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be some truth and some nuance in between. So for the last 5 months, I've been working on it, and I'm so excited that it's finally done. I've shared it with you and a couple other people, and the responses I've been getting have been overwhelmingly positive. So yes, I'm here to talk about it with you.
Super exciting. Now, before we get into your project in full, we want to just go over for the folks that might not know some facts about the History album. So,
Yeah,
yeah, let's talk about it. History, Past, Present, and Future Book One release date was June 20th, 1995. This was Michael Jackson's ninth studio album if you're counting his Motown solo albums. Yep, here it is. Thank you, Solomon. And it was his first double album. I think it might have just been his only double album, really. They say first, but has he had any others? There have been other collections out there, but this was the one that I know of. Disc one was
yeah,
History Begins, which was all of his greatest hits. And then History Continues is the second disc with 15 brand new tracks. It debuted number one in multiple countries, including the UK, Australia, the USA, France, Germany, and was the best selling multiple disc album of all time by a solo artist. And there were five singles: Scream, You Are Not Alone, Earth Song, They Don't Care About Us, Stranger in Moscow. Some of the themes they touched upon were social justice, media criticism, pain, isolation, anger, history, and how it ties to a lasting legacy. That's a history album.
hmm
Um, so tell us about your article, because that's what it is. You're a journalist. You've done so many amazing articles about Michael Jackson, about different short films, about different songs. So, um, yeah, just let us know a little bit more about the article. What is it? What is it called? That's first of all. What is it called?
yeah,
And
yes,
yeah, the
yeah,
background info.
absolutely. So the title is going to be Michael Jackson's History Turns 30: Scream, Survive, Smile. So the reason why I mapped it out that way is that, Michael described the History album as a musical book. So as I was listening to it, I'm thinking, okay, I need to let the music tell me what it wants to be instead of me projecting myself onto it. Because again, that's a huge mistake that a lot of mainstream publications tend to do. And as I was jotting down notes, I was thinking, okay, like, man, like a lot of things are rising to the surface that, I'm trying to train my brain as if I haven't heard this album since I was five, because it came out when I was 5 years old. So hearing it, from a 35-year-old's perspective, like a lot of things came to the surface of like, man, like it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time, but I'm finally getting it. Um, and then as far as like just mapping out the journey, my goal was to, take you through, um, just take you on a journey moment by moment, song by song. And the way that it opens is that I take you back to 1979. He's on tour with his brothers for the Destiny World Tour. And even though, he's getting all these cheers and, and stuff from the fans, he doesn't feel like he's truly been seen yet. So that I want to take everybody back to the secret letter that he wrote to himself of like, MJ will be my new name, no more Michael Jackson. So like he's writing this manifesto in a way. And then I take you through that journey of him, accomplishing those goals and the obstacles that he had to overcome. But then it's like, okay, well, if there's one thing that the world loves more than an icon, it's a fallen one. So then that's when I take you to 1993, and then I unpack all the allegations and the things that he was feeling inside and out at the time, and that sets the groundwork for him going into the history album.
I love that, and I love how you really, provide everybody with background and context. That was one of my favorite parts of the album of the article, and
Yeah.
I wanna also just talk about the fact that we talked about this when we discussed doing this episode, was the fact that this is the 30-year anniversary of the album, but yet
Hmm.
there are no celebrations going on from the
Yeah.
estate. There was just an email that came out not too long ago, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now, from them that said, "Hey, the biopic, we're waiting for the biopic, and because of that, History 30 and all of our other projects have been pushed back."
Hmm.
So what do you what is your thought on that? Because in our
Uh,
notes, we have the refusal to celebrate it, because they are
yeah.
kinda refusing to celebrate it. I mean, no shade to the estate, but, like, they could still do a little something for us regardless of
Yeah.
the biopic.
No, I'm right there with you, and pardon the pun here. This isn't breaking news. This is a history lesson with the estate. So, um, no, I'm right there with you. Like it's, I had a feeling that it was going to fall under the radar, just like Blood on the Dance Floor did 5 years ago. Pretty much Dangerous 5 years ago. Really didn't get much recognition. So no, like I've anticipated, like hey, if the estate is not going to celebrate Michael's art, then it's on us, as the Michael Jackson fan community or Michael Jackson supporters to do that. So that's why I took it upon myself of like, okay, I know I want to do something for history, 30, but I need to figure out, if I'm just going to rehash what people have already seen, then there's no point in me writing it. So yeah, it is very unfortunate that the estate is using the biopic as the scapegoat because they could have celebrated the album several years ago, like even after Michael had passed. But yeah, all right, estate. You're just you're doing the same old stuff. Is basically my mindset. What about you?
Yeah, I do. It is a disappointment for me because I am a fan of a lot of the official estate projects.
Hmm.
I tend
Hmm.
to like a lot of the merchandise that they put out, to be honest, even though I don't buy it very much, but I like the merchandise. I have enjoyed many of the documentaries they've put out. Even
Yeah.
Thriller 40, like even though I said, "Hey, this wasn't my favorite," but it wasn't bad. I would have taken something even like that, just a documentary on one of the streaming services or whatever, just to talk about the album. Heck, I would have even taken like a 20-minute documentary series with talking to some of the collaborators on the official Michael Jackson YouTube channel. That would have been enough for
Sure.
me.
Yeah.
I do think it is a missed opportunity because it's like, you know, yes, Michael Jackson, he has his fans that are, around our age and kind of remember when this stuff came out and people that are before us. But when it comes to the younger generation, I feel like attention spans are fleeting. And what better time to celebrate an album than like an anniversary like the 10th, the 20th, the 30th. And
Yeah.
these songs are just so relevant. Today, one of the songs, They Don't Care About Us, was used kind of like as one of the anthems of Black Lives Matter and all of that going on. So like I just don't see why they don't celebrate it. But I guess
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, and and maybe this is an unorthodox philosophy, but one thing that I've liked about the Prince estate is that they're not necessarily focused on you know uh, around the world in a day 35 or whatever. It's like if they put together a box set for like they did for Sign of the Times that came out in I want to say 2020, but the album came out in 87. So it's like it's just a matter of can we put the best product that we can together and give it out there for the fans to enjoy. So I don't think it necessarily has to lock in with the album anniversary. It'd be great if it could, but that's one thing I do like about the Prince estate is that they're not necessarily concerned about the dates. They're more about getting the product right and making sure that all the dates align as far as like the content that they put on there, and then releasing it to the fans. So perhaps that's a philosophy that the estate can adopt one day, but we'll see what happens. But I agree with you 1000%, especially when it comes to the younger fans. There's a lot of folks that don't remember this album. They weren't even alive when it first came out. So yeah, golden opportunity to show the fans that there's more than to Michael besides off the wall thriller, bad and dangerous. Like there's a lot more greatness after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh,
Mhm.
and and thank you, by the way, for being here during Black Music Month. I think this is such a really cool thing. I don't remember this growing up, but I have heard more about it lately, and so I feel like the fact that this is the time to kind of celebrate Black music and recognize it. I want to play a really cool clip that I found just when I was looking online trying to see what cool clips I could find about the History album when we were having this conversation in preparation for this conversation today. I found a really cool ad and commercial for the album that I just wanted to play and get like your reaction to it.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
Hey, 15 new songs, 15 greatest hits.
Wasn't that
That
awesome?
Yeah, that's such a cool spot. And hearing this time around on that guy's radio reminds me of, again, I was 5, 6 years old when the album came out, and I can remember hearing radio edits of this time around on the radio. So that you just took me back just now. Like my mom was in the Navy at the time, and we were living in Guam, and I can remember hearing Michael and Biggie on the same song at the same time. I was like, oh my, this is so cool. Like I didn't think I would hear the song on the radio. So you just took me back. That's awesome.
Yeah, like looking back at that, I'm like, I didn't even realize because I got into the History album way late, like into my
Oh,
high school
okay.
years. So I really didn't even really know about this time around until like I bought the CD way later on because my dad was not into, the History album. I don't even know if he has it. Um
Wow.
but I recognized that it was not really a single or like a big hit. So to see it in the commercial was kind of interesting to me and I was like, "Oh, this kind of shows that Michael Jackson always had his ear to the streets, like trying to pay attention to what the youth cared about. He knew
Right.
about Notorious B.I.G. and how big of an artist he was. Always also paying attention to like Black youth and what might be playing on the radio at the time. So I love that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So talk to us about your approach with this article because this type of thing is not easy, to dig deep, to figure out what kind of things to point out to celebrate an album that really hasn't been celebrated enough. So can you kind of tell us about your approach in doing this?
Yeah, yeah. Kind of what I mentioned at the top of the conversation is, I've always seen these two extremes between, mainstream publications like really dismissing a lot of the musical integrity. They get more caught up in the controversy. And then you have fans that, again, they're very attentive to the music, but they idolize Michael to the point of like he's this god.
Yeah.
So I think but what's interesting is the connection between those two extremes is that what's getting lost is the human being behind the music. So that's what I tried to do is I wanted to peel the curtain back a little bit and help people understand, like put you in Michael's mind and put you in his shoes, to understand. So by 1979, we're in his mind. We understand the manifesto and the ambitious goal that he wanted to make for himself as far as reinvention. And then by 1995, we feel his wounds, and I take you through song by song, so that way you could feel that and be like, okay, maybe I need to go back and listen to this song because now that I've seen what Chris had to say, I'll now have a greater appreciation for it. Or hey, yeah, I love this song already, but now, now my opinion is entirely changed. I thought I knew this song front to back, but now I have another way of looking at it, you know?
Yeah, and I love that. Um, and I feel like, one of my favorite parts of the article in general was just when you kind of took us back and, yeah, like you said, put us in his shoes, like the way that you really mapped it out. And I'm gonna link the article down below for everybody to go read after this.
Yeah.
But the way you mapped it out, like you really showed us, okay, this is what he went through, when he branched out, going solo in the beginning, when he wrote his manifesto, down to like seeing everything come true and then kind of seeing it all kind of crash down in a way
Hmm.
around this time. And a lot of people say that like when you go through these trials and tribulations, this is some of people's most authentic work. And I think that
Hmm.
that was true for Michael Jackson. Like he had so many different things that he probably had been wanting to talk about and had just glossed over in the
Yeah.
past. Like you go from the Bad album talking about Leave Me Alone to now he's Tabloid Junkie and Money and like being more direct about it. Um, so yeah, so I mean, I love the stories that you used. I want to tell everybody a little bit about my favorite parts of the article, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Go for it. I'm curious.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I love the introduction, and I love parts of the article that kind of make me think. Um,
Hmm.
Particularly Tabloid Junkie kind of made me like look at myself and kind of like, okay, yeah, I do take part, even though he says you don't have to read it and all that stuff. To buy it is to feed it, all that. And yeah, I have read some tabloid articles every now and then during his
Hmm.
life and every now and then even now because I'm like, oh, what's happening? And I want to know. But yeah, I mean, you kind of made me look back at myself and wonder what is my
And
part in this? What was my role in this feeling that Michael Jackson had?
yeah, and no, that's good. Like and again, I'm speaking to myself because I'm part of the community right there with you. So, throughout the article, like I want you to say amen as much as you say ouch, and I think that's exactly what Michael wanted us to do as well. Is like, okay, like, like I'm ready to celebrate you, but I also understand I have a part to play in this as well. So yeah, like and I'm so glad that you mentioned the biopic at the top of the conversation because a lot of what I've seen around the biopic kind of relates to what we're talking about now with tabloid junkies. Like people are feeding on these rumors and wanting to do reaction videos so they could be first. Like
Yes.
the need to be first is like that's the new high. And a lot of people are junkies over that stuff. So like to me, like that's what makes a song like Tabloid Junkie timely and timeless, is that we are not like we're nodding along to the song, we're humming to it, we're hitting share, we're hitting send on the different things that have to do with Michael Jackson, but are we taking the time to read the warning label on the poison that we're spreading? I don't know if we are.
It's so true. It's so true. And like that need to be first. That hits for me, especially like, making content online. I'm always like, all right, I want to post about this first, but I want to also make sure that I know what I'm talking about and that there's like
Right.
a little bit of truth to it. But then when you're
Hmm.
not first, it's kind of like, oh, this person's gonna get all the views. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's and the same thing with the tabloids, like, you're looking around saying, okay, who's gonna post about this first? I think I had seen not too long ago some fans posting some things about the biopic, and I was just like waiting, waiting, waiting. I'm like, okay, let me see if people.com picks this up or Variety or
Hmm.
someone a little bit more credible. So yeah, I loved that.
Good.
And it
I'm glad.
and another part about this article that I really love is, it really kind of makes me want to go back and listen to
Good.
some of these songs that I had not listened to in a long time.
Hmm.
Come Together, Smile, the way that you break
Yeah.
down Smile in this. And for people that don't know, like this song is, I feel like this is one of the best outros to an album that Michael Jackson has. Like,
Oh wow, I didn't know you felt that way.
yeah, the best because it really, I don't know, it just really felt like it just wrapped me up in a nice warm hug. And that's what I like to feel when
Mm.
I listen to Michael
Yeah.
Jackson songs, especially after like the emotional roller coaster of the
That's
rest of the
true.
album.
Hmm. No, I'm right there with you. Like the vast majority of this record is angry. Like it's the angriest that we've ever heard him, and rightfully so. But yeah, I would say like from yeah, I would say from childhood to Smile, like those last five songs, you start to kind of see him like he's got a lot of that pent up aggression out, So now it's a matter of him making that turn. And it's like he brings us to the center of his trauma, which is really his lost childhood. And then from there, we see him rise and start to focus on other things that are more important to him, like every step you take, you're leaving your legacy, and then pivoting to, doing a song like Lil Susie, which in most people's minds is like, what is this doing on a mainstream pop record? But a song
Yeah.
like that matters to Michael because he understood the abandoned. And then, like you said, when it came to Smile, it's like, it's such a good bookend. The album opens with a scream and it ends with a smile. And what we hear in between is a man surviving and just refusing to give up. So I wanted to capture all of that in the article. So I'm glad that you came out of it feeling like it was like a warm hug, to use your words. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Scream, so I want to take a look. We have some pictures of Michael in Scream,
Yeah.
just because we love to have the visuals.
Yeah.
If we could pull this up, yes. So we got Michael here in Scream. There's another picture and another, which this has got to be my favorite. I love this
Yeah.
picture.
This is a good one. Hmm.
And then we've got Michael and Janet.
Yeah.
To open the album. And I think this is just so powerful because you've got, Janet here when she was at the top of her game and Michael was not as, not that he wasn't at the top of his game, but it wasn't like bad Thriller era for him at that moment,
Right. Yeah.
And so to have his sister jump on this track and then they made just this powerful statement was just really, really cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. And what was fascinating was that Scream was the first time that Michael and Janet had worked together since Thriller, because she did the background vocals on PYT with Latoya and a couple other girls. So, like you said, like Janet at this time is at her commercial peak. She's doing albums. She's been doing movies like Poetic Justice with Tupac. It, just came out a couple years prior to this. And the self-titled, or not self-titled, but the Janet album, which to me is, I would argue that's probably her best, although I'm a sucker for Rhythm Nation. But I totally get anybody that says that Janet is like her best album. I totally get that. So, but yeah, like at the time the culture felt like Janet was more in tune with the streets, or with the youth, than Michael was, despite the success that he had in the 80s. So um I thought it was great. And if anybody has seen Janet's documentary, you see footage of Michael and Janet in Trump Tower writing Scream for the first time. So that was that to me was golden. I loved watching all that. It was beautiful.
Yes, I just seeing that, honestly, you talking about it now and then seeing that, I got goosebumps when I first saw that because I was just like, wow, how
Yeah.
often do we get to be in the middle of that creative process? Just like seeing them jotting something down on a notebook that I
Hmm.
probably listened to hundreds of times on my walks to school, on my Walkman, and you've got these
Right.
two real people, siblings, brother and sister, just hashing it out. And he's like, Mom is not gonna like, mother's not gonna like us,
Right.
including this word. This has been an excerpt from episode number 38 of the Club 30s with MJ Fangirl podcast. Make sure that you're following on your favorite podcast app. And also, thank you so much to our Patreon. If you are interested in being a Patreon member and getting exclusive ad-free content, definitely join today. Shout out to our platinum sponsor, Marlis. You are the absolute best. Thank you so much for the support.